All right, let's get started. This is the fun part. On a drawing like this, I typically start with what's in the foreground, and here you're seeing me draw palm trees. And the palm trees, they kind of look like starfish. They all radiate from the center, and they pop out from there, and then they have a strong centerpiece and base that comes down. That looks like a great palm, doesn't it? And I draw them right in the foreground because it starts to set the mood for the whole drawing. And then over to the side, since I'm by water, I'm going to put some boats in. And you put boats in with simple symbols like masts that pop up, guide wires, and also triangular shapes that create the cabins on the boats themselves. They could be yachts, they could be sailboats. Now you can see where I start to draw trees a little bit smaller because they're further back, a little less detail. And I'm following under drawing that I had done before from the Draw What You Want to See, and also the perspective grid that I set up. But a lot of times I'm just winging it as I go along, and you'll be able to do this too. This is something that you'll easily be able to copy and mimic and then also make it your own. Again, more trees that are even further back. Some deciduous trees. And I start to work down a little bit lower, some of the people, some of the promenade, walking activity, tables, umbrellas. With simple shapes. I'm a shape maker. I'm making shapes. I'm not drawing a person. I'm not drawing a tree. I'm not drawing a leaf, but I'm drawing these shapes. And I'll show you how to draw all these shapes, and we have a library of them. So again, I continue to draw more people, and they're very simple people, but yet they start off at 5 feet, which is my horizon line, and they get smaller as they get further away. Now comes the fun part. All right, I start to draw the building. And again, the building is a matter of shapes. I'm not drawing a window and a door and a dormer and a sheer wall. I'm drawing shapes, interesting interlocking shapes. And I'm using shade and shadow to create form. Shade is on the side of the building that is not in the sun, and shadow is cast from those edges of the buildings. And I use diagonal strokes for interest, even though I'm right-handed, so it has a little bit of a right-hand slant, but I kind of watch that a little bit. But it gives it more dynamic movement, I think. And again, a building doesn't ever sit by itself. It's always the environment around it. And that's what makes architecture and drawing and designing so much fun, is that we just don't draw it by itself. We draw it in its environment. Because we don't want this building to just say, okay, you know what, this is downtown. No, it's down by the docks. So as I'm drawing the building, I also draw more trees, interlocking shapes. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And that's just all shade and shadow. It's not drawing those actual edges. The building itself ends up being over 20 stories, probably 25 stories tall. Each of them 10 to 12 feet, and that's figured out with a real quick perspective grid. Nothing difficult at all. And then it's just mimicked up proportion-wise. But again, take a look at that. I'm showing different kinds of windows, little balconies, and there's the shade as it turns the corner. And then more shadow that's cast by the edges. Now it's time to work a little bit on the base of the building because the scale changes from the top side of the building. And a different activity. I mean, usually you have retail and you have restaurants and food and beverage going on. So you always have to try to show that. And it's a different scale. I mean, it's, anywhere from 2 to 6 stories these bases are. I love jumping in and just making it better as I go. And that's the fun thing about design, is that I get to make the decisions. Now you can see the top of the building. I'm getting close to getting this drawing finished. So now I'm going around and I'm making everything come up to the same level of finish. You know, the same darks, the same lights, and then a little bit of detail, okay? Detail goes in at the end, everybody. If I were to sit and draw every little detail. Now it's time for the sky. The sky helps give the form and a little bit more finish to it. And it grabs the edge of the building. Now the drawing's almost done. I'm going back in, going around, touching things up. And now it's finished.